Griffin the Griffin by BlackWing. Chapter 77. Paperwork. Stupid princess. No, I don't like giant bees. Why would I eat a horseshoe? Apparently, my dreams got much better during the later half of the night. And by better, I mean just confusing instead of horrifying. Of course, I won't remember it when I wake up. 5 more minutes. Alright, stupid squirrel. I'm up. I'll get your damn peanuts. I pull myself out of bed, walk over to the end table, and begin shifting through to look for a bag of nuts to feed the persistent critter outside my window. Wait a tick. Airship. There are no squirrels. Then, window? I groggily walk back to the window, and nearly jump out of my skin when I see Owie there, hanging from one of the mooring lines, giving me a mock salute. Permission to come aboard. Even though he's outside, I can hear him clearly. I open the window so we can have a proper conversation. Yeah, head on up top. I'll be there in a sec. Damn early bird can keep his worm. Thanks. He replies simply before climbing up the rope, his companions behind him. I shut the window and nudge Gilda awake. Wakey, wakey. Got friends coming to visit. And I haven't cleaned the house up top to bottom. So you go meet him. I'm tired, she responded. Fine, I grumble. I head up top to the deck, opening the ship's door, and gently flap my wings to get the blood flowing, as well as pass over some of the crew members who slept out there to catch a breeze. I spot Owie, tiptoeing over them, trying not to wake them. Welcome aboard the Possibility. Finest airship anywhere. Make yourself at home, but stay out of the booze. We just restocked, and I don't want to run out of rum before I get any. For some reason, the rum is always gone, but nobody knows who drinks it. I don't drink rum anyways, so that won't be a problem. He deadpans. Well, anyway, let's head down to the mess. Mari's usually up and cooking something for us. And if we don't get there before these guys, we'll have to wait for the food. By the way, you might want to start setting sail. He trails off. Why's that? Princess Celestia is insistent on having you attend the knighting ceremony. Unless you want another segment added to your long name, you better get going. My eyes turn to pinpricks. Knighting? There is a ceremony tomorrow morning that you will be attending. No excuses. Ah, shit! Up and at 'em, boys! We got work to do! I thought you might react that way. He gives a slight chuckle. Okay, Owie, here's the deal. We gotta pick up our newest volunteers, but we can't let Celestia catch us. How do you suggest we do that? We show up to the ceremony so she knows we're there and is off guard. Then we bail when she doesn't pay attention. I'll have my crew go through who's joining while we're there. Then we go off grabbing the mooring lines to the ship as she grabs the sword. Nah, we'll be in the back room preparing for our public appearance. Then go out the window while she's giving the speech. If we make a public exit, then she'll just grab us, magic and all. Got a point there. Well, we can't do this on an empty stomach. Let's get breakfast, then get going. I see Eol and Yubi, Awie's companions, looking around at the marvel of the ship, their attention suddenly snapping to me at the mention of food. I'll meet you down there. If you don't know the way, just follow the signs. Heaven knows I got lost in there one too many times before I had directions put up. Then I walk off to get some food while the getting's good. Maria, as usual, was already up and getting breakfast ready, along with several other cats and griffins working in the kitchen. She was comically wearing a chef's hat and barking out orders to the rest who were working frantically to keep up. The shy little griffin really knew how to be assertive in her own environment.
The captain needs to recover her strength, so we'll only serve him the best. Does this look like the best to you? I don't think so. You make sure you use fresh ingredients, and damn it, hurry up! We have mouths to feed!
Hey, Maria.
Oh, good morning, Captain.
She took off her hat and bowed. It was adorable. Uh, as you were. I sat and waited for my meal, not having ordered anything, as I trust in Maria's judgment. Gilda slowly walked into the mess hall and took her seat next to me, while Nadine, Etch, and Grouse sat across from us. The 3 chairs on my right were empty, as I had them reserved for our guests. Aoi walks in with Shimmer and takes a seat next to me, while one of his companions sits by him, and Shimmer sits next to Nadine. The other diamond dog is nowhere to be seen. Hey, where's the Yole?
2 of the crew members took him to the sick bay. He threw up over the side.
The one I'm guessing is Yubi replied. I'll never remember their names.
You know, he really ought to just chew on some ginger root. Tastes terrible, but he won't get sick then,
Nadine stated. That's right. Ancient Chinese sailors used that as a remedy for seasickness. I'll be sure to tell him that. Maybe we'll get him some after we're done eating. Hey, Maria! Save a plate for our guest. He's not feeling so well and won't be coming in for breakfast. She gives a salute as she walks out, bringing several servings of glazed rabbit.
Here you go, full of nutrients and cooked to perfection.
Thank you. Itadakimasu, Aoi says as he folds up his hands.
Now eat up, doctor's orders. You need to get your strength back.
I don't bother with the pleasantries or any of that crap, merely nodding my head in silence for a moment before digging in. You don't have to tell me twice, the wolf says, as he and everyone else begins eating as well. Maria takes his seat and begins eating with the rest of us, quickly emptying her plate before and getting back to the kitchen. Jeez, where'd that girl learn how to eat, America? The rest of us eat slowly, savoring the rich flavor of the meal. Aoi shrugs. I used to eat the same way. Well, I've already had Cable inform the crew of what we'll be doing. Gal makes a great comm officer. I placed her up on a bridge so she can work on the intercom. She may be a kind mare, but something about her voice demands that you listen to it. Probably why she's able to keep Gear under control so well. You mean Gearmond, Aoi clarifies. I take a few more bites, then empty my mouth before continuing. Yeah, we just call him Gear, though. I'll introduce you to everyone later, when we have more time anyway. They all know what they'll be doing, so hopefully they can finish before we need to make our escape. I don't feel like being knighted. Me neither. Why do you think I gave you the courtesy of the warning beforehand? He pouts, not liking the idea of belonging to the state. I owe you one for that, by the way. But since I'm giving you a ride, well, I guess we'll call it even. With that thought finished, I burped, and a scroll appeared in green flame from my mouth. Aoi jumps up, drawing his sword on reflex. What the hell? Letter. Let's see. Yes, Celestia, I know. I'm coming. Jeez, let me at least finish breakfast. That should be sufficient explanation. I wrote a hasty reply, then sent it off. Submito ad Celestia. Aoi sighs and sheaths his sword, taking his seat again. A letter from the princess, about the knighting ceremony, no doubt. But why did you burp it out? Beats me. Might be because I got dragon blood in me. But then why doesn't Shimmer have the same thing? I don't know. It's magic. I ain't gotta explain shit. That, she didn't say it was a knighting ceremony. Probably because she thinks that if I know, I'll bail. And she's exactly right. Aoi shakes his head. You could spend your entire life looking, but you'll never find the answers to everything. Such as how ponies hold things without their fingers? I chuckle. I have a few theories, but what would be the point? I can't prove them, he says, taking the last few bits of meat off the bone. Best to let the scientists worry about that. Way I figure, I don't teach Twilight my magic unless she can answer one simple question. That's the difference between us, I guess. Not knowing doesn't drive me crazy. I finish my meal as well, then stand up to clean my plate. Aoi stands as well, and we place our dirty dishes into the bin to be washed later. Alright, now that that's out of the way, let's get going. Before I leave, Gilda wraps her arms around me and gives me a quick nuzzle. Hurry back, okay? Will do. As we reach the deck, my crew is working efficiently to try and get everything ready for interviews. That way we can get them done and get out of here in record time. Hopefully we'll be able to pull it off. So, Griffin, mind telling me what exactly she said? Aoi asks. She said, Griffin, your presence is required in the atrium immediately. Don't even try to skip out, or I will teleport you there myself. Looks like she's not in the mood for any of my shenanigans. Too bad for her, I'm always a step ahead. Do tell. He obviously wanted me to explain. Shadow manipulation and ghost clone. I had Trixie charge a couple gems with the spells before we even got here so I can activate them, even when she's burnt out. I'll set 2 of them, one for each of us, on stage while we slip out as nothing but shadows. It really is amazing what you can do with magic and just a little bit of human ingenuity. Although she was actually the one who thought of it. I swear, she may not be all that book smart, but on the field she's a genius in practical magic. Brilliant. But will the princess fall for it? He turns toward me. Being millennia old, I'm not sure a simple shadow doppelganger will fool her. Well, it was easy enough to fool you. I smile as I walk out of the stairwell onto the deck a second time, the first me disappearing. It's that seamless. Timing is everything. It won't last long, which means we need to be gone by the time it wears off. I'll plant them on the stage beforehand and then trigger them right before we bail. And you think her magic won't debunk it beforehand? He raises an eyebrow as we move towards the bow of the ship. That's the purpose of us showing up of our own free will. If she had to drag us there, she'd be on guard. But if I come of my own volition and tell her I know it's a knighting ceremony, she won't see any need for the extra measure. Remember, as seamless as it might be, there's always room for a backup plan. He jumps backward off the edge of the ship. I always have a backup plan, I smirk. He detaches one of the mooring lines and swings to the starboard. Oh, do you now? No, wait. Don't tell me. I want it to be a surprise. I begin flapping my weary wings, stretching them and preparing to fly. Hop on. Might as well arrive in style. Plus, if she thinks I'm your ride, that's even less reason to suspect that she will leave. I need to give my wings a good strength test anyways. Make sure they're totally healed properly. He carefully climbed onto my back, not really sure of what he's doing. His feet being too big for the pony-sized straps. Instead, he grips my back with his legs and hold on. Might as well try to fly. Ah! He nearly falls off as I jump off without warning, laughing all the way. Hold on! And don't touch the wings unless you want to know what a pancake feels like. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! I do a couple simple rolls, then an inside loop, before finally straightening out. The wolf on my back is holding on for dear life. I know you do this every day, but ease up on the tricks! Right? Sorry, it's kind of a Griffin thing. Well, actually, it's a Pegasus thing, too. You just need to fly, you know? Ever wonder why birds sing even when they're not looking for a mate? It's because they're happy. I mean, if you could fly, wouldn't you be? Well, I don't know about flying, but whenever I make a great escape, flying from a skyscraper or simply running across the rooftops, it does feel liberating. High up, wind in your hair, or in this case, feathers. It's the whole world right there at your fingertips. To be able to just go whenever you want. From up here, I can see forever. Can't believe I used to be afraid of heights. Howie snickers. I learned not to be afraid. If fear is your only option, you've already lost. Well, I guess I wasn't really afraid of being high up as much as I was that someone was going to push me off, seeing as how they've actually tried a couple of times. I gave a weak laugh. Howie gives a sigh. I always felt a little pleasure in pushing others off buildings. Seeing someone like a corrupt politician go from a great height to the dirt of common ground. The irony of it all. He sighs again. Irony. he wouldn't hate me too much if I... Nah, he'd be cool. Totally. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Here goes. Hey, Howie. Have you ever heard of the express elevator to hell? Took it a few times, actually. He gives a weak laugh. Well then, I hope you enjoy the Tartarus drop! I flip myself upside down, flapping my wings in the reserve of the normal position so I stay up, and I feel the wolf slip up off my back. Nani? I've seen enough anime to know Japanese for what? Not so much fun, is it? I say, plummeting right next to him, as he draws his sword. Actually, it's just like the old days. Ever try fighting like this? He asks with a smirk. Not in free fall. I like your style. I draw Hades, and our blades meet mid-drop, sending sparks off each other. He fans out the flaps of his clothing to create drag, then falls like a torpedo towards me from above. I bring my sword in front to block, then fan my wings, causing them to smash into the side of it, and tumble off, but he recovers quickly, and darts towards me. I open my wings, causing him to miss as I pull away. He straightens out and then rolls over. I look in his eyes and see his determination, and then go into a nosedive, straight for him, holding my sword into a position to stab. He parries the strike, kicks me in the head, and then sends me tumbling as he darts below, which then opens up again so I fall straight at his blade. I spin past the stab, grinding my sword on his own as I pass him. We've lost a lot of altitude, and we should probably stop goofing off at this point. I come up beside him and hold my sword out, not to stab, but to give him something to stand on. Ground's getting close. Need a lift, partner? Oh, ye of little faith. Wait, what? He's not seriously gonna just drop to the ground. He's got a parachute or something, right? To my relief, he removes his shirt and uses it as just that. He starts steering himself towards the nearby tower. I don't wear this just for looks, you know. Before he can reach it, I position myself under him and hover, causing him to land on my back in his original position. Well, that's enough. Let's get going before Celestia gets prissy. The ship is moving away from the castle as well. That way it doesn't have as far to go when we make our escape. It enforces that we're not going to try and bail. We flew down to our destination, where the main six stood there, ready to greet us. Celestia and Luna were there as well, somewhat surprised.
What the hey was that all about?
Dash asked, in a mix of being confused and impressed. I looked to Aoi, and he looked back at me. We turn and answer as one. It's called Falling with Style. Toy Story nostalgia for the win.
But it looked so dangerous.
Fluttershy started whimpering, flinching as she looked into Aoi's eyes. What, that? Nah, we do that all the time. It's just a bit of fun as a warm-up. We both sheath our weapons and approach the group.
Y'all are nuts.
The Stetson Warring Earth pony made her opinion known. A lot of people have said that about me, Aoi returns calmly. AJ thinks for a moment before making a retraction.
Though I can't say I disapprove of your eating habits.
She offers. We both accept with a smile, bringing her relief. Oh, by the way, Nightmare didn't get any because Chrysalis is a bitch. You think you could get him something later? I'm ignoring the fact that I was just as much of an asshole. She nods. Griffin, I'm glad you arrived in a timely manner for once. And you brought Aoi with you, Celestia said, glaring at me. The whole time I was wearing a boyish grin. I hear you wish to knight us. Aoi asks, looking around. I noticed that a certain changeling isn't present. Probably inside the atrium already. It was a beautifully adorned building with a glass ceiling, several ornate sculptures, and such along the walls. You are correct. I did not inform Griffin, as I assumed he would not come if he knew. Without missing a beat, I responded, What? And not get knighted? Being knighted is a huge honor. It means influence in the courts and everything. I would basically be a noble. As if I'd give that up, the manipulator I am. Aoi looked at me and blinked twice. Probably a signal of some kind. Am I laying it on too thick? Anyway, the ship is just over the town square on the north section, going on through the volunteer paperwork and junk. As soon as we're done here, we'll get on board and head out. You came to the knighting ceremonies to get out of paperwork, didn't you? Luna deadpans. Maybe. I smiled innocently. They both bought it. Thanks, Lulu. I love it when they give me an alibi. Fatality! Flawless victory! Are you taking Aoi with you? I'm simply hitching a ride with him to Gem Fido. It's important we get there as soon as possible. I see. She bowed her head in thought, and then looked back up. Griffin, I'd like to speak to you privately once we're inside, before the ceremony. Celestia finally brought me inside an office room, where Nightmare was seated, changed into a human form so he could eat.
Dude, finally, I've been waiting forever.
I was eating breakfast, alright? Give me a break. Celestia cleared her throat and stomped a hoof, getting our attention as the door closed and she cast several spells, likely wards for privacy. Now you're no doubt wondering why I brought you both here. Please get on with it, she glared. If you don't mind. She relaxed after I remembered my manners. I'd like to get out as soon as possible, so the sooner we get through this and then the knighting, the sooner I can get out of your hair and start fighting the forces of tyranny. That is what I wish to speak to you in regards to. I would like you to take Nightmare with you. The changeling and I both coughed and gave an exasperated "What?" Nightmare, your task in all this is to locate the other humans, and to keep tabs on them through a tagging spell. Griffin, as you travel quite a bit, and not only have an eye for spotting them, but also a way of showing them for what they really are, you would aid in uncovering them, determining the threat they pose to Equestria, and if they are dangerous, dealing with them. Other than that, you could most likely outfit him and train him far better than my own guard could. Celestia explained. No.
Agreed. No thank you, princess.
The changeling is agreeing with me? Oh, what miracles will the world bring next? I'm serious, does Equestria have a lottery? No, I'm not gonna get sucked into the world of gambling. Why not? You are already burying Aoi on your ship, are you not? She asked. Major reason, I like Aoi. I get along with him. Me and Knight are just to the point of not trying to kill each other. And what of you, Nightmare?
He scares me.
Oh, come now, it won't be that bad, she reasoned. Oh, here's a list of reasons that are off the top of my head, and I totally did not prepare beforehand. For why Nightmare the Changeling should not travel with me. 1, I don't like him. Well, I'm not just gonna kill him for that. I'm gonna be irritable the entire time, and I have enough to deal with already. 2, love. Given that we're pirates, there ain't much, and what we do have isn't going to him to be nommed on. In fact, my presence alone would probably make him sick. 3, trust. When people are hungry, they do crazy things. Desperate for food, he'll eventually try impersonating a crew member to feed on love that's meant for them. I find it very disturbing that Gilda and I could be doing certain activities, only for there to be a flash of green and I find myself in this guy, girl, and whatever, since changelings can change their gender at will to make it easier to feed. Very disturbing! The bug looked disgusted that I'd even suggest that, then hung his head in acceptance that it was a very, well, plausible. On the flip side, if I go to my room and find Gilda in bed with another me, I will fucking kill Hall, whoever it is, which would be a far lighter punishment as to what she'd do. Same goes for my crew and their partners. This time, he nodded in agreement. 4, loyalty. I know he's your biggest fan, not to mention that you brought him here to act on your will. If he's on my ship, I need to know that he'll do what I say when I say it. If something I'm doing goes against what's the absolute best for you personally, he won't do it. When crew members don't follow orders, bad things happen. 5, let's face it, he's not the best in social situations. Now, I mean, neither am I, for parties anyway, but I'm damn good at negotiating and diffusing hostilities, as well as trickery and distraction. I've got a sharp, silver tongue and communicate wordlessly what I'm really saying while spouting out some other blather to keep the enemy distracted.
he wouldn't pick up on it and wind up either pulling a Leroy Jenkins or calling me out on what I said. So I'd have to explain it to him. The walls have ears and the doors have eyes. This concludes my oral report on why he's not getting on my ship. A well thought out argument was really the best option here, and Celestia could definitely see the reasoning in that. So did the bug. Well, I know how to sit down and shut up if we're getting shot at. I'll either do what you say or hide in my room. But I don't like you either. I don't want to starve, and yeah, I don't want to resort to sleeping with your crew just to get a proper meal. Sure, this stuff tastes great, but I barely get any nutrition out of it, he said, waving a piece of hay bacon around. The princess gave a groan, but he relented, our combined reasoning showing that the cons far outweighed the pros, and I doubt she wanted to lose her little pawn so soon after taking so much effort to bring him here. That was quite sound reasoning, Griffin. I was not expecting that. What, you thought I just went and did things all willy-nilly? I've got Twilight-level OCD and organizational skills. And while I've never made a list specifically on how to make lists, I think things through a lot. I weigh the benefits and disadvantages and think up a number of plans and backups. The only times I don't do that are when things happen suddenly. The dragon attack, Nightmare Octave. I didn't have any time to think of a plan, and I didn't have enough facts, so I just did it and hoped I got lucky. If my new scars are anything to show, I'm not lucky all the time. Most of the time, but not all. Which is why it is of the utmost importance that I keep the initiative and press it continually. If I give any slack at all, I'll lose my grip and get crushed. Fortune favors the bold. Just when I thought I had you figured out, you surprised me yet again. Gotta keep you on your toes. If the gallows any indication, with the opening of the Black Vault, things are just going to get worse. Here. I tossed her a scroll, which she caught with her magic. What's this? Blueprints to the Mark I laser rifle. My own crew uses these. Given that they need to be held without adjustment, they would be limited to use by Pegasi who can fly and have their hooves off the ground, acting as sharpshooters with their enhanced vision, or unicorns who can levitate and charge the system simultaneously, using constant sweeping attacks. These are what took out legions of changelings above Canterlot during the invasion, and I had Steelhorn adapt them for pony use at the start of our little tour preparation for having unicorn crew members. Celestia seemed taken aback by what I had just given her, then gratefully packed the scroll into the hammer space, or wherever the hell these ponies put things. Invisible saddlebags? I suggest you start in mass production and teach your guard how to use them, as well as ponies en masse. I think you'll find they're quite better than spears, given that you can bayonet them and can provide offensive for unicorns who aren't particularly skilled in magic, aka regular citizens, who just use basic levitation. You should also be starting an emergency first response groups consisting of both self-defense and first aid, with established safe zones or bunkers capable of sustaining life for extended periods of time. That way ponies don't all run around screaming when disaster strikes and have to wait for the guard to save them. Should also mean that they're less likely to get kidnapped if they don't have a proper defense, which makes my job easier because I'm not shipping pony slaves back into the capital all the time. Puts pressure on the dogs, makes them more likely to see reason, and weaker if they try to fight. Celestia smiled? Not a warm smile, but that know-it-all kind of smile that pisses people off. Thank you for the generous gift, Griffin. I shall put it to use immediately. As for the emergency measures, I've already been made aware of their apparent lack and have been working with my intelligence agency to devise and implement a proper emergency system. Someone already got to her about that? Oh well. I guess that concludes this meeting. Thank you again for coming, Griffin. This means quite a lot. I suppose we should begin the ceremony, so you can be on your way. If you'll follow me, please. The princess led the two of us through several corridors to a backstage area where Aoi was waiting. Celestia motioned for me to stay there, and walk through the curtains in front of the stage, leaving Aoi and I behind it. Nightmare was going with his beloved princess, loath to be away from her for even a moment. This was the perfect opportunity to prepare our escape. We moved around behind the curtain as we heard the Sun Pony's voice on the microphone, giving an introduction as we planted several gems at the corners of the stage, then took our places.
Alright, that's the last one. Now just stand with me behind the stage to let the gems read our positions. We waited for a couple of moments. And we're good. There. We have a 10-minute copy of us that will activate when I snap my claws together. I'll turn it on, then use a spell from my sword to make us appear as shadows. And then we'll head out to the back. Just have to wait for the right time. They won't move or say anything, they'll just stand there. Anything that touches them will pass through. It's basically a hologram. Howie looked a little nervous. Probably doesn't know whether it'll work or not, but got himself under control as Celestia came back through the curtains after giving a speech about how the world was in turmoil and needs protectors, mentioning the elements of harmony who were already out there. Alright, you two. The bears and Nightmare are already out front. Just wait back here for the curtains to open and come forward when I call your names. Got it! I smiled. She went back out on stage, and I turned to Aoi. It's time for us to use one of Umbra's other meanings. You ready? I asked. Ready, he replied. I snapped my fingers, and then stepped back as a perfect clone stood in my place, unmoving other than a gentle false breathing. It would be indiscernible from me unless someone touched it or tried to talk to it. It's the same as Trixie's illusion, but it's not controllable. Aoi looked impressed at his doppelganger, and took a few steps back as well. Climb on, I whispered, the instructions to my fellow escapee. He did so, and I lightly flapped my wings, the sound barely reaching our duplicates. Umbra. The other meaning of the word, shadow, took its effect as the darkness crept from the walls, covering our bodies and making us blend with the void. I am one with the shadows, I whispered the line of the StarCraft II stalker. With that, we left the black. We passed right by several ponies, who paid us nothing more than a passing glance before blinking, shaking their heads and dismissing it as a trick of the light, or having worked too late last night. Once we were out of the building, I clung to the shadows as much as possible before a stray beam of sunlight made the darkness leave us like mist before the wind. Since we were no longer obscured, I made sure to keep a wall between us and the atrium at all times, lest we be spotted. Once we were all clear, I flew like a bat out of hell to the ship, where I ordered the crew, who had just finished getting the new recruits on board, to set sail due north to Gem Fido. Once we were on board, I swore I could hear the frustrated yell of Celestia from across the town. Too late, princess! I laughed as we sailed away on a cloud, hidden from the Sun Princess's vision. For once, for fucking once, I actually got to stick with Plan A! I think you're a good luck charm, Aoi. I never had a plan pan out that way on the first try. Oh, really? He gives me a wise-ass smirk. Yep, every plan I've ever made, the first has always failed. I always had to go to Plan B or Plan C, and occasionally Plan D. It's a good thing, too, because I didn't have a Plan B this time, other than just run our asses off. He gave a slight laugh and then turns to the horizon, pulls a couple of black pellets from his cloak, and shows them to me over his shoulder. This was my Plan B. Smoke bombs? Nice. And you said you weren't a ninja liar. In all technicality, they are the same thing. I'm just the modern kind. Well, anyway, it's still way too damn early for me to be up having such a late night. I'm gonna hit the stack and try to get my sleep schedule somewhat back to normal. Welcome aboard. Pleasure. Hopefully it will be smooth sailing from here. He stares off the bow of the ship, towards our destination, while I head back to the bed to get some much-needed shut-eye. Fighting a demon musician, a zoo bleeding out, and then a concert, and then carrying Aoi, who, despite not being fat, is quite heavy, to and from the atrium in a mad attempt to flee a raging princess. I'm exhausted. I think I'll just sleep for a whole day now, then wake up in the morning to reset my internal clock.